It's a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are. And like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Gail of Gaia, and this is Free Range, where we graze on wild ideas, and we have wonderful guests. And my guest tonight for the show called the Esoteric After Party is with White Fox, and we were thinking after the Super Bowl whether there might be something to talk about, but so far we haven't discovered what that might be. And we're happy to take questions from the audience if you have tuned in. And let me bring White Fox on. Welcome.
Hey, Gail.
White Fox. How are you doing this evening?
The energies have been wild, to say the least.
Oh, it's not just me, huh?
Oh, no.
Yeah, and they're all over the place, it seems.
I'd say
if you know what I mean.
Mix of chaos, which just simply means change. The energy is all about change. Things of the old, it definitely seems like they're being uprooted.
The energies are being upgraded. Is that what you mean?
No, the energies are uprooting the old embedded energy in the planet. It's almost like taking a sledgehammer to an old building. The new energies are rebuilding it at the same time as it's being torn down. It's what it feels and looks like.
How have this impacting, or will this be impacting the ley lines, and how will they be reactivated?
The ley lines actually have been active for about 10 years now from what I've seen. But the energy flowing in as it comes into the earth is actually energizing the ley lines first, like a focal point, and then it's embedding and completely engulfing the entire planet. As it flows out in the atmospheric energy around us, it's like we're getting hit all over again from the recirculating or reverberating energy through the planet. It's almost like the energy is raining up from the ground, more so than coming from the sky at this time.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, we have benevolent beings under the ground, shall we say, beneath us. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Like I know of the Telosians under Mount Shasta, but what other, do you know of any other races in particular?
I can't say I know much for names, but I can definitely say there's about nine positive ET groups within different places within the Earth, including under the North and South Pole. They're actually, from my understanding, and I got this in a meditation, I was shown the image of these beings in different locations, not very clearly what they look like, but they all were focusing and channeling the energy coming into crystals that are already within the earth. Almost like they're pieces or fragments of the earth herself resonating through those crystals.
Well, I just happen to have come to a state that is full of crystals. Would those crystals be involved?
Actually, the more the energy rises on the planet, the more all crystals on the planet that are natural will start to resonate with the new energy, and some may start glowing, some will start vibrating. It's hard to describe, but it seems like the crystals I've been seeing both on the ground randomly, just fragments, and crystals I have at home, it just seems as if they've been becoming more brilliant and more energized. Each time it seems like we get hit by another CME or something of that nature. I've been watching
Oh,
it
wow,
for a
that's
while. It's
interesting.
really interesting. I threw out my TV because these are far more interesting.
Well, what's it? What I saw a picture of one time, not recently, but I'll try to describe it. I saw these huge, long crystals that were, I mean, a man looked small next to them. Okay. And it was said that if you did not have a high vibration, you couldn't go in there,
That's
or you
true.
couldn't be by the crystal.
The larger the crystal, the more ominous the energy coming off of it. Some people can call it spiritual pressure. Crystals, living beings, especially ones like you described. If I'm not mistaken, that picture is from a mine in Mexico where they're mining the world's largest crystals. I forget the name of the cave, but the larger the crystal, especially with these energies coming in, energizing them, their living essence or the being of the crystal is beginning to really resonate outward and radiate. It's like a light bulb that you've given twice the amount of electricity to than it would normally run on, and it's just gotten that much brighter. Um, you may not even be able to see the energy in some cases, but if you're sensitive, just being around one of these crystals can either be uplifting, or if you don't resonate high enough, it can make you feel nauseous and you'll want to move away from the crystal. That would be your aura interacting with the crystal's aura and its spiritual presence.
So crystals have spiritual
Yes, they
presence.
do.
That's fascinating. I never thought of it that way.
Well, crystals themselves are all part of a collective living being. They're said to be two-dimensional beings, but they actually resonate way higher than we do.
Wow, that's amazing. So when they start absorbing the energy from either the below us or above us, that will in turn cause the vibration of the earth to increase as well. Is that correct?
Yes, in a sense, just like we are anchoring in the energy that is too high for the average person to feel, for those who are awake and sensitive, um, the crystals themselves are also taking an energy even higher than we are. And the more they take in and hold, the more they resonate together, the higher it's helping to raise the planet herself.
Wow.
This ascension isn't just
Well,
for us, but the planet herself is ascending.
I heard the whole galaxy or universe is ascending too. Is that true?
I'm not entirely sure on that. From what I heard about it while speaking with my guides, I was told that Earth is like, yes, there are many ascensions going on simultaneously, but Earth specifically is being used as a testing template. This ascension for us is different than previous ascensions in the sense that instead of going out of body, like previous cultures that disappeared, um, such as the Olmecs, we're actually taking our bodies with us, which is why the upgrades are coming through the body for those who are ascending. Pardon me,
Okay,
my throat's
so
a little dry.
what kind of upgrades are we talking about that are going to help people that are ready to ascend? I mean, our bodies are basically pretty dense right now. Um, and we're taking our bodies with us. So I'm wondering how much change actually has to take place in our body before we are able to handle the higher energies.
Well, these energies have been coming in and causing all kinds of upgrades for the body for several years now. Some people are just now starting to feel them, and some are not feeling them at all. But that has more to do with at their subconscious level. They've either already decided to ascend or they're not done with 3D. And either way, they're getting the upgrade, but those who are choosing not to ascend at a soul level are not feeling it because it's being blocked. Their body's still getting it, but they're not. They're going to continue on 3D somewhere else after the shift. But those of us who are receiving it it's literally unlocking our DNA, reactivating things that were disconnected a long time ago. And it's slowly bringing up the vibrations within our own body. Our chakras are upgrading along with it. Our consciousness is expanding and our Akashic records are becoming more open to us. Everyone's at different places within this process, but eventually all of us will have all of these things unlocked.
What do you think the chances of our coming together in unity with all the differences of opinion and ego-mindedness do you think we will be able to overcome that?
I do. The thing is, it's not going to happen overnight. Even after the shift comes, it's going to be a slow process because if it happened too quickly, but we're not even the same people we are. Gradually, our consciousness is going to stop paying attention to the differences and pay more attention in a more benevolent way. It's like the universe is going from neutral in its energy state to a more benevolence, promoting more positive vibes, more positive emotions, more compassion for the people in general. And over time, especially with the magnetic poles shifting, that actually has to do with some of our consciousness and our outlook. As that shifts and flips, so does our view as a collective on, instead of being more violent and selfish, they're going to be more gentle and loving towards other people. This is something that's going to take some time to happen. And for those of us already choosing to walk the path, we're actually already getting these things. I myself, 10 years ago, was not as compassionate towards humanity as I am now. Nothing drastic has pushed me into that. It's just over time, it started being revealed to me, more of the understanding that comes so that it allows for compassion. It really is hard to see someone else's side of things if you're looking through a lens of angry and look at these differences. But what's changing is part of that in our consciousness. We're moving away from looking at the differences and looking more at the similarities. It's like flipping the paradigm. Instead of looking at the negative, we're going to start looking more at the positive. We're going to start being able to grow as a species.
We've been geared to focus on the negative because that's all we've ever been fed from the news, for example. And even though I don't watch the news anymore, I probably saw enough in a lifetime or heard enough from it that in addition to other things, brings on that negative kind of thinking, which now we really have to catch ourselves and pay attention to our thoughts. And when we get negative thoughts, to when appropriate, certainly cancel them.
Well, we are starting to notice some of the upgrades. Yes, they're physical. There's some minor adjustments happening within the body, not just at the cellular level for our structure or in just the DNA's reconnection. But there's also little things such as the kidneys are moving slightly higher slowly within the body, more protected than where they used to sit. It's said that we're getting enlarged livers to help deal with the toxins in our environment. These are some of the actual things, from what I'm told by random doctors and other things, different places I've talked to. They're starting to notice these oddities happening in the body compared to the anatomy they were taught in school. So there are actual significant physical changes. It's just slowly happening over time.
Well, it's interesting because I guess it would be kind of hard with physiology, but since we've been lied to about everything, some of the things that they told us about the bodies have been lies
Yes.
too. The heart is a good example. It's a vortex. It's not
Energetically, it's a
a pump,
vortex, but
so
in
to speak.
another sense, it does act like a pump. At the 3D level or the physicality, it looks like a pump if you're just looking at it with the basic five senses.
Right. But you know, I saw somebody take I just recently, as a matter of fact, somebody take the heart muscle and roll it out like it's rolled up.
Mm-hmm.
As crazy as that sounds. I mean, I was kind of shocked when I saw that. Um, and then they were talking about the vortex aspect of it, even though it is, you know, from a 3D perspective, a pump, but because we're not as accustomed to looking at vortexes, so to
Well,
speak.
it would make more
So,
sense
yeah.
that it would be a vortex. Um, for example, in some cars, they changed the intake design. Like in GM, they started creating the Vortec engine. All that is a redesign of the intake to give the air as it's moving in a spin, which speeds it up as it enters the engine. In a sense, your heart kind of does that as it moves through the body. Once it hits the heart, it doesn't just stop, then go, then stop, then go like a pump would do. It actually goes in a fluid movement and it spins as it goes through, which accelerates and pushes the blood even further and harder. Kind of like how a wind
There's a couple
turbine
other things.
works without the turbine.
A couple other things that I've been wondering about, and that is a lot of the people that went along with the Jabberwock and wondering with these new energies coming in, are they going to be able to tolerate the energies, or will it be more difficult for them? There's a lot of talk that they're more um, aggressive or having a harder time uh, dealing with things in general, because as all this information comes out too, people are going to be mm, I don't know how that's going to play out, but I'm sure it's one of those things where they say truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off. And
That's
I
true.
think there's
That is true.
I think there's a lot of truth in that, and we're going to just we haven't even gotten to that part yet, because some of that is just happening now. Once
Well,
people
technically,
find
to the public, it's happening now, but a great many people have been actually doing their own due diligence, and it's not really a surprise to them the lies that are shattering. It's
there's
like
a
a
lot
glass
of
that hits too high of a pitch as the frequencies come in of truth. The lies are going to shatter like cheap glass.
yeah,
And
it's like
yes, I'm tired of 3D too.
their nefarious plans just are
The
falling
truth,
apart every time they try try
it is.
something.
And that's because the energy, the old energy or the previous yuga we were in, the Kali Yuga we're coming out of, is more geared or spun towards a negative or dark energy. That's why the darkness rules during the Kali Yuga. We're moving into a golden age, which is a reversal of the energy. And okay, this is a dualistic universe. If the dark gets extreme at one point, the pendulum has to swing back the other way because this dualistic universe runs on balance. If it's out of balance, it falls apart.
It seems way out
We're
of
we're
balance.
in the middle of swinging back the other way. We're already past the halfway point and it's still going. Since it was such an extreme to the dark, we're now moving to the extreme of the light. And it's not just simply in the light and dark, but in all variations of duality where it was imbalanced. It's in process of tearing apart what is not natural and supporting and rebalancing what is natural. Um,
Wow.
and truth be told, we're not in 3D anymore. The only 3D that still exists on the planet is the 3D in people's programming and in their minds. If they are still stuck mentally in the old energy, they are still 3D. But the world around you is not 3D and has not been for a few years fully.
Fully 3D. I mean, so that you're saying then we're in 4D. Is
Yes,
that correct? Yeah.
3D has always existed within 4D like a pocket or a bubble. That
Isn't
bubble
that's
popped a couple years ago. I actually felt it. It was like a big wave or a ripple in reality at the time. I think that was around 2018, the last time I felt that. And I've noticed the only 3D still around is in the auric field or the bubble of reality for the people who are still stuck in the lower vibes, still buying into the matrix. Those of us who are waking up, we're not 3D. We're not.
Well, that's good. I like you said, though, there's probably still a lot of that 3D programming, more so maybe in the others that don't see the awareness or whatever. But 4D is an indicator. All the truth coming out is an indicator of 4D right there, isn't it?
Truth will stand in all dimensions, actually. But we're coming out of the 3D matrix that was hijacked into the world of lies around the beginning of the age of the Kali Yuga, when it started. Right now we're coming out of it. I don't recall exactly how many centuries they say it takes to go through each yuga. That's not my specialty.
Jeff says, well, before we get to that one, if there's way more colors in 5D, I'd like to see that myself. I've had visions of that indicate
wait.
very.
If you don't yet,
hopefully it's not far
just
away.
wait. I've been seeing them for several years. It's one of those things that the more you devote yourself to the path, the more you openly expand your mind and drop the false beliefs in your own personal path, the more that opens up for you. If you're just going to sit around and be happy with what you've got and wait on the shift, yes, you'll still get there, but you're going to have to wait on the collective if that's your choice. Most of us are moving forward on our own paths individually and respectively.
I'd just like to mention that there's a couple of comments in the chat about heart enlargement.
Yes.
So
the heart enlargement comes as part of the 5D expansion, because your heart has to be able to handle the even more emotion, even more compassion. When you get to a point where you've achieved the emerald ray or the Christed heart, basically you've fully unlocked both the heart and high heart chakras, your heart actually does start to grow a little bit larger. It also will move closer to the center of your chest, both physically and energetically, for sure. It shows in a lot more auras than it used to of people that I've been working with who are in the awakened community. But in normal people, I'm even starting to see some expansion. That's why a lot of them are losing their crap. They haven't done the inner work, and the chakras are being pushed open by the energy that's coming in. That's why they're having such a hard time. That's why a lot of people have symptoms of what feels like a heart attack. That's just the energy interacting with your heart. And if you still have a lot of density, or you're holding on to grudges, or you haven't healed your own heart from your own traumas, it's going to be that much harder, because the old energy is very dense and it's being flushed out to put the new energy in place. That's why old stuff keeps coming back up for you, if that's where you're at on your journey.
Oh, someone else said this comment about the brain as well. It's about going from the left side of the brain to the right. And then I might add, and into the heart.
Okay, you just referenced both left and right hemisphere balancing, which is coming naturally, though there are methods in which you can do that on your own in your growth. But that is coming with some of the energies. That's one of the changes. Instead of having a left brain disconnected from the right, or your creative versus your logical brain, those two are starting to merge, and a lot of people can't make sense of it until they stop and actually think.
Sorry, my dog thinks he hears somebody.
The next is head and heart coherence you referenced. Once the head and the heart brains start working together, that actually unlocks a stronger intuitive brain, which is the third brain within the body. So both the head brain is being rewired to be more balanced. And as you open the chakras, the head and heart, coherence starts to become in balance. You may have a little bit of emotional instability and a few times where the logic is more pressing. But when you can marry those two and actually have a balance between both the head and the heart, then your intuitive brain starts to grow as well, which also helps you with connection to your own higher self. Some of this stuff, these upgrades are triggering and forcing if we're on that path. If you're choosing not to ascend, then you're probably not feeling anything. Just stay pretty much numb from the brain down, especially if CNN's in front of your face.
Oh my goodness. Hopefully people are catching on to the lies. I think they are. More and more people seem to be
I believe they
up.
are. I can kind of see it in a lot of the locals, and I can feel it in the general collective when I focus or move my awareness into the collective consciousness. I am starting to feel a bit of a balance shift more towards the truth and a lot of shattering of falsehoods, false information, and false beliefs. I'm noticing that in the collective. That's also part of that whole shift from it's all for me to, hey, we're a group. What's good for one of us is good for all of us, kind of thing.
New York and Teresa are talking about seeing someone out of the corner of the eye. That's happened to me a couple of times recently, and I did a double take, like, and then there's nothing there, and I'm going, oh my.
It's not that there's nothing there. A lot of people see things out the corner of their eye because your filter for your visuals is usually primarily directly in front where you're focused to look, not out the corner of your eye. It's out the corner of your eye. The filter's not there, so you are seeing shadows and beings in the 4D. Being that we are in the 4D, they're surrounding you all the time. There's ghosts and other things. If your consciousness allows you to see them, you remove that filter. But if you're not thinking about it, as these energies come in, they're shattering that veil for a lot of people, and they're starting to see. That's why in biblical times they talk about being able to speak with the dead that have already been gone. That's because they're still here in the 4D, or the spiritual aspect of the 3/4D. We're now fully in the 4D if our consciousness is expanded to include us in the 4D and not believe we are still in the 3D by feeding into the 3D. As you become more open to the 4D energies, you will be more able to interact with these beings. You'll start noticing them more. You'll start seeing shadow people. Not all shadow people are bad. If you see a shadow person with glowing red eyes, that's a bad one. That would be 1 out of 10 million, and a lot of them have actually been cleared for our passage through the 4D on our way up, because the Earth is moving into a 5D state. It will no longer hold 3D after the event. That's why a lot of people are going to go elsewhere. It's not going to be a death. They're just not going to be here. They'll play out their version of Earth while we continue on as the Earth rises and we rise with it. But you're going to be able to see your dead relatives. You're going to be able to interact with them like you would your best friend sitting on the couch, if you wish to, and you allow yourself to be able to. A lot of people have the belief that they're all demons in the 4D. That's not true at all. Only about 30% of them were demons, and I say were because for 10 or 12 years, I myself and about a dozen others I'm aware of on the planet have been working with entities in the 4D to clear it as a path for the Earth's ascension and all the normal people who are going to come through and rise. That's where we're all at now in the 4D, because the 3D fake is dissolving around us. This is what I've been seeing with my own eyes for a couple of years now.
Mm-hmm. You see energy, or you've seen energy from when you were just a young child, correct?
I've seen energy most of my life. As a child, nobody explained it to me. Everyone thought I was crazy or there was something wrong with me. but I've always been able to interact with beings in the 4Ds. Most of the people I interacted with as a kid were part of the reason that I had to go through the system. I was in and out of talking to psychologists, mostly because my parents didn't know what to do with me. But my dead grandmother was telling me that my mom needs to quit acting this way. That's not how she was raised. And when I'd tell her mom said that, she'd freak out.
I bet. She didn't understand what was going on, I'm sure.
And that's only a small percent of what I dealt with growing up. But yes,
Wow.
I've always been able to see them. Around 2012, the energy started growing in color beyond anything I've seen on the paint scale for us here. The color palette does not hold half of the colors I see every day now. And I know everyone else is going to see them soon if they're not already starting to catch glimpses. When you have moments where it's like you're just randomly in bliss or you're overcharged in energy, you may start to catch glimpses of these colors because that means your energy has risen high enough that you're starting to pick up the spectrum. That's also why you're getting the upgrades to the body, because it's expanding the visual spectrum you can see to grow with your consciousness as we're shifting. In 3D, you're limited to the base 5 senses, but in 4D, it's got the same rules as 3D, but it's a whole lot more malleable, including time. Time will move much differently. If you notice, it speeds up when you're having fun, but it slows down when you're not. That's a 4D aspect, not a 3D aspect.
Oh my goodness.
If you start to look at a clock because you're in a hurry, time will slow down. So keep that in mind as you're going through your day and you notice these things. These are signs you're in 4D, not 3D. It's the programming that we were given and what the TV narrative is still giving. That is all part of keeping you locked in the 3D with a limited conscious mind. Technically, your subconscious picks up every dimension all around you all the time and acts as a filter that filters out everything that's outside of your personal conscious level, what you've consciously achieved. As you grow and expand, your ability to see grows and expands. Your ability to hear, all 14 of your natural senses are expanded and emphasized the more you expand to allow for them. But in 3D, you're only programmed to have 5 basic senses and that's it. If you believe you have any psychic sense at all, if you can feel the energy off of anyone, if you can hear things that you can't see, and I don't mean tinnitus, but if you hear something say your name, but there's no one around. There's somebody around. They're just not there in a 3D sense. They're there in a 4D sense. They're spirit form.
That happened to me. It was actually kind of funny because I was in I was in my room at the time, and all of a sudden I was just I think I was just laying down or whatever, and I heard my name loud and clear, and I came out of and asked the people in the house, "Did you call my name? Did you call my name?" Nobody called my name. I guess only I heard it. But it was very
they were talking directly to you. It was somebody on the other side who either knows you or has a direct connection to you, whether it be a soul connection or someone who passed away that you knew. I've even had pets come running up to me that have been gone for years, but they're not physically there. I could see and hear them bark and turn around. Normally, most people would not see it. But because of my sight, I've been able to see the spirit of the ghost come running up to me. But that's become so much more vivid here lately. The spirits have a lot stronger of a view, a coloration pattern, and a radiance, especially the higher vibe beings I've run into.
Teresa has a very interesting story about her son. And apparently she just felt energy that came over her, and it was very euphoric. Apparently passed on, but told her when she was pregnant that he wasn't going to stay very long. That's fascinating. What an experience that must have been.
That had to have been a pretty hard experience for them to tell you that. But at the same token, they were letting you know you're loved so much, even if it's brief. They're here. And now that they're gone, they're still here helping you. Especially if they come up to you, that euphoric feeling, that's the true feeling of love coming from an unbiased, unconditional love. You get that from spirit and from angels. If you ever get a hug from one, it is absolutely the most euphoric thing you'll ever feel, almost to the point you can't stand it. I experienced that a few times myself. Actually, in 2012, I experienced that. It's still hard to put the words this many years later.
Yeah, I can recall having an experience after a meditation where I felt highly blissful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was just a high like I had never experienced and don't always, experience. But it was awesome. Let's see, we're getting some experiences. If you want to share your experience, put it in the chat, and I'll try to put it up if I don't miss it. Sometimes they move so fast, I miss because it keeps moving right along. Okay, Jeff is indicating that isn't the soul lives the life subconscious remembers all of them as you go?
The soul does keep them in your Akashic record. It dates and goes back to every single one you've ever lived, experienced, both in and out of body. That's all in your Akashic record, and it's carried by your soul, not your body. The DNA is an expression of the programming from your own soul primarily. The parents, the mom and dad, only contribute 20% total of your DNA. The rest of it comes and is carried by the soul. That's why you'll have traits from 200 years ago in a previous version of you in your current being. It is true that you are your own ancestors.
Interesting. Kathleen says that she sees people every night and sees through the walls. They are busy and not nuts.
No, you're not nuts. If I focus, I can see the energy or the aura of a person through a wall. But more than not at night, for me, I get a lot of entities passing through. Some just kind of stop and stare at me. It's kind of weird. Took a while to get used to. But one of them told me it's because of my energy. They were so obsessed with such a beautiful energy, they were attracted to it. That's the way I see it when I see other people who are on the path. And even people who are not awake, their auras are amazing. But when they start to wake up, it's like a literal light flower blossoming like a supernova. But it's continuous and constantly changing color.
Well, isn't it true that since we are all connected, that as more people wake up and their consciousnesses expand, that it will create I don't know if this is the right word, so almost a form of quantum, instead of quantum entanglement, I will call it quantum connection. Does that make sense?
Yes, we do have a quantum connection with each other. It's hard to put to words how I perceive it, but it is kind of like a quantum tunnel. Once you know another soul, like say your best friend, they could be halfway around the world and something happen or something positive even, and their overwhelming joy, you would know it internally through that quantum connection. That's what all the energy cords and attachments are people get to other people and to things. That's the attachments a lot of people talk about, the cords they have to cut when those things or connections become toxic. But that is a positive connection that's really coming through from spirit, especially as we continue into the shift.
Wow. Mathis has a question for you. He said, I did an end of video crown chakra release meditation at the end of Lily Nova's live. I saw part of that, by the way, and immediately started to get severe flu symptoms. I never get sick. What is that, White Fox?
You ever had the ascension flu before? It's not just coming from the energy waves, but if you sit down to a meditation and it really brings a connection and opens your crown chakra, anything that was hiding in there that hasn't been cleaned out yet will start to come out. That's why you'll get those flu-like symptoms. It's literally your body cleansing or resetting from the upgrade. The flu cannot be cured, or the common cold is more referenced. It cannot be cured because it's not a disease. It's a reset of the systems within the body. It's like after you restart your computer, it goes through and does its safety checks. Well, that's kind of what the flu or the common cold really is for the human body, and why there is no cure. And you
like
don't have to be actually getting sick, but it will feel like it as your body resets, especially with the upgrades coming in. That's why a lot of people have the ascension flu a lot, because every time they get an upgrade, the system resets. Then they got to get used to it again. Then it happens again if they didn't take it all in one giant upgrade, like installing a new operating system. Meditations like that will actually pull you into a very high place and can even trigger the opening of the crown chakra, which would be your higher self going, yeah, you're good, here, have some more upgrades. That can cause, if you're not used to those kind of jumps or leaps in your own self, can cause ascension flu-like symptoms. All disease starts in the energetic body.
That's interesting that works that way. Let's see. Okay, Mathis is asking about the U.S. aid, and people are flipping out. I don't know. I can't guarantee anything about any funds coming back to us. I know we are all hoping for some relief in that regard. But it appears to be definitely moving in that direction, because if you look at the points in the actual Nasara, many of them are already being accomplished.
I do see a lot of the points they express about Nasara coming in.
Yeah.
But I'm still a little on the fence about Nasara, because I've been researching it for years. And there is some legitimate backing and truth to Nasara. But at the same time, it hasn't happened yet. And there is it's court orderly sealed to what exactly Nasara really is. There's a lot of speculation on the internet, and there's no guarantee what it actually is until it's actually publicly announced, according to the court case that actually created Nasara at the World Health, or at the Hague, when the court case went through back in, I think it was the late 80s, early 90s.
Oh, you mean when they forced Clinton to sign it?
Mm-hmm. No, before that, when it actually went through the courts and they found that the farmers had actually won because what was being done was so illegal. Many laws have to be rewritten to correct it. That's why Nasara came about in the beginning. Unfortunately, it's been blocked and hasn't come out yet. And there's also a lot of disinformation about it. So I'm still on the fence as to what it actually is versus what they say it is. Because some of the information was put out by the Clinton Foundation. And I don't exactly trust that organization.
Gee.
So I'm not saying for or against.
Why not?
But if I look directly at the events going on around that, I'd say there are a lot of positive things coming that would line up to some of the things they've said about it.
Right.
So I
Did you
do
ever?
look positively towards that, but I'm still on the fence about the name Nasara.
Well, we need receipts, right? What about?
Yeah, but I'm glad they're doing something in the shattering of the illusion of where all this money went, because they blew money. I mean, think about it, $12,000 for a hammer in their own
Well,
paperwork. That's ridiculous. They're laundering money somewhere.
and now one of the things that this Doge is finding out is just absolutely, people are really going to get ticked off when they find out how all of the taxes, they found out they're even paying the journalists and the news media who have been lying to us all along because they were paid well for their bogus stories, and that's just a small part of it. And
I think it's
even
hilarious that Politico, one of the big pushers for most of news stories for all the different groups, they share their stuff, could not make their payroll after Trump stopped all federal funding just to figure out where the money's going. And now they can't make their payroll, and they're paying off large anchors at most news stations, plus their own, newspaper or whatnot,
they even
but
paid New
etc.
York Times.
Yeah,
The
they
New
did.
And then the World Economic Forum.
Yeah, that one still kills me. Why are we paying the people who are trying to destroy everything we stand for? Oh, wait, it was
And
funded
kill
and
us too.
created from the US to begin with. But
I
yet
mean,
it's mostly Europeans running it.
and the other thing of it is we have been funding every country around the world only to be badmouthed by many of them.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for your money. Now we blow you up.
Yeah,
Is some of
it's
the mentality of some of the terrorist groups. Of course, truth be told, a lot of the terrorist groups were created by our own government anyway. I mean, it's said that
our
Hillary Clinton is the mother of ISIS because she helped to create them while they were still just a small group. Back when she was Secretary of State, they were funding them, calling them freedom fighters under her and
this
Obama.
this is what's going to really blow people's minds when they find out some of the kinds of things that went on that were totally the opposite of what they thought. I mean, totally the opposite. And that kind of thing is, that truth is going to piss people off. And then,
I think Weird Al Yankovic said it best. Everything you know is wrong. Black is white, up is down, and short is long. And everything you used to think was so important really doesn't matter anymore because everything you know is wrong. He wrote that back in the 80s as a comedy song, but some of the best truths in history have always been said in jest.
well, one of the things that this is kind of a switch over. Where is everybody is seeing, well, Trump is leading the charge, but somebody is feeding Trump information, um,
Well,
and
I
helping.
thought it was common knowledge. Trump blatantly in the 80s said he did not want to run for president, but he was hired to do the job. The people who hired him are the ones feeding him information. And from my understanding, that was the White Hat Alliance in the military. They came to him to run for it. He didn't go to them. So he's actually working with white hats in the military. I learned this when I was in the military, but that's all I can say on that.
Wide Awake says the giant crystals inside Earth is the heartbeat of Gaia. Would you
They're
agree with
not the
that?
heartbeat, but they're actually helping to hold the heartbeat and to spread its resonance. You could look at them as like internal resonators for the spirit of the Earth's energy. The heartbeat itself would be the Schumann resonance, or the measurement of the actual pulses from the center of the Earth and the star therein.
Okay.
I can see why people would think the crystals are the heartbeat, though, because it is referenced as the crystalline heart in many of the old
Oh,
texts,
yeah,
so
that's
it
true.
makes sense.
Yeah, this is very important what Teresa's saying here. The old system needs to be dismantled first. That is in the process right now. And nothing is what it appears. Where everybody's finding that out. It's kind of the Truman Show, more or less. But going within and trusting our own guidance is becoming critically important. Having the discernment and having trusting our higher self from within, our God within, and because they're throwing so much at us at one time, it's really hard to sift
I
through it
can
all.
agree with that, Gail. And I would agree with that statement. It is true. In these times, I'm reminded of the statement from the head of the CIA back in the 70s. When the American people believe everything is a lie, then our job will be done. So, literally,
All
everything
right.
is being fed to us as a lie. The only true guidance we have is our own internal guidance. Not Jiminy Cricket, but your own higher self, your intuition. If you truly trust and follow that guidance, you're going to make it through this no matter if it was a nuclear war or not. I don't believe it's going to be. That's not very high in the probability. But even if it was, that guidance inside you is the only thing that's truly 110% looking out for what's best for you. Not the people around you, not the people you care about, you. So to make it through, trust your guidance, follow that intuition, no matter what anybody, including myself, says, and always use your own discernment.
Take what resonates and leave the rest behind. And if it's meant to resonate at a later date, it'll resonate at a later date. But maybe it doesn't resonate
That's
right
right.
now. And we're all at different
Truth at
levels.
one level is not
And
truth at another. And you will even learn truths on the path just to turn around and throw them away for an even higher truth later on. So even when you know a truth and you learn a greater truth, still be open to question it, because there's even greater truth yet still we have yet to uncover.
I think it was, I don't remember the first name, but I think it might have been William Casey that said that from the CIA. Casey is the name that comes to mind. And I don't
Thank
know
you.
why.
I couldn't remember the name, but to me that name wasn't important. His
Yeah,
position says a lot more.
for
He's
some
in
reason.
charge of these people, and they're admitting our job is to lie to you.
Right. And get you to believe the lies too.
That's right.
Unreal. That's when people are just going to be so fed up. I wonder what the Schumann resonance is going to look like at that point. Is this going to be all red?
If we keep it at the same dimmed down scales they're currently using, yes, it'll be completely redded out, because the minimal frequency for the next dimension starts at 100 hertz. Currently, the Schumann's been sitting in the low hertz, but in the last while, I've been watching the Schumann for years, but I've noticed around 2018, a lot of those who show the Schumann, they have changed the scale by expanding it so it doesn't look like it's going so high, by still keeping the numbers at, say, around 40 hertz. But actually it was way above that before then, but they changed the scale so it looks like it's still low, even though it's reading higher than it is. I noticed that myself. I used to have a phone slam full of pictures where I recorded the Schumann for in 2016 through 2018. 90% of the time it was well over 100 hertz back then. These are continuous pulses up into the crescendo known as the shift, or the solar flash, as I've seen in my own visions.
And you've seen that numerous times, haven't you?
A lot. I've seen it more than 50 times in the last 10 years, and I don't remember how many before that. Even as a kid, I didn't understand these dreams, but I was shown earth changes. I was shown the solar flash. but not very much after it, which leads me to believe it's not written yet. And in the last 10 years, I've heard a lot of people in the spiritual community talk about how we are creating the new earth. Well, I believe we are, as we're going by our beliefs and what we choose it to be. And there's going to be more than one. Spirit showed me 10 years ago that all the timelines and dimensions were merging into one for a brief period to go through the shift. Then they're all going to branch back out into whole new possibilities and thousands of different realities. But the primary theme timelines are going to be an organic ascension and an inorganic, meaning, and then a combination of both. The inorganic references more of a technologically advanced society, more dependent on technology. The organic is more of a natural stewardship with the earth that allows you to expand your own abilities to the same point as the AI is capable of. The human body and the human being is so much more than they want us to believe we are. And if we put our efforts into our own growth, well, even the Christ said we are his brothers, we are gods, and we can do the same as he. I believe it more that we are fractals of the creator, basically mini creators within the game who are the ones allowed to tweak the game as we go. Connecting with your higher self is like getting your game genie, then going to play the game. You got all the cheat codes.
Okay, you rang a little bell in my head about when you talked about fractals. I believe it was Lily Nova was talking a little bit about people getting soul fragments back, and that's in the process of happening as we speak because of the higher energies. Like you might even move someplace, and this because this kind of meant whoa to me to retrieve soul fragments. What do you think about that?
Those soul fragments are parts of yourself from previous lives, traumas you had back then that fragmented you in that lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
The left behind fragments are what you're collecting as you're being guided to move from place to place or visit place to place. Some people don't have to go anywhere. These same soul fractals are being drawn to you like a magnet returning its own pieces. Because of the energies of the shift coming in and are amplifying us, we are actually pulling them back to us to become more whole, because we can't leave these fragments behind if we're leaving 3D.
Exactly, and that's what was being said, and I'm thinking to myself,
Which is why we also have to deal with our own internal garbage and clean house.
I'm thinking to myself, oh my God,
That's the inner work.
I must have a lot of fractals all over the place because I've moved a lot. Anyway,
well, it's not just fractals from this reality too. Your higher self on the other side of it is going through and reconnecting parts of you from other timelines, other dimensions that are experiencing simultaneously. Your higher self is reconnecting you to them on a level that, unless you're conscious at your higher self's level, you wouldn't even realize, but you'll just randomly get this sense that you've just met yourself, or you know something that you never knew before. It's coming from another fraction of yourself that's been reconnected. As you connect more to all these other parts of yourself, including internally, you start being able to tap into their knowledge as well and their abilities as if they're your own, because they're all fractals of you being reconnected. Ascension is to become more whole or more capable of embodying more of yourself.
Now, if that is the case and someone moves a lot, would that indicate the possibility of, like, some people have incarnated more than others? Is that true?
That is true. There are probably about 13 or 14 total major soul groups, which can have thousands of people or more in them, that are on the planet, but each came here at different times. That's why they talked about, for the ascending people, the different waves of volunteers, including the indigo children and etc. They came in at different times at different waves, so their fragments or their souls all here experiencing are at a different rate of experience than some of us who came here sooner. And we've been continuing to reincarnate here, gaining more and more experience. Some souls are still new souls or fairly young. Well, there are many of us who are waking up. It's because our souls have already done everything. We're ready to leave. We're waiting on the game to change.
I'm so ready.
That's what a lot of the old souls who are waking up actually are. They've completed it.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
they're close to it. There are groups that are halfway here. That's why
Yeah.
everyone's at different locations and places on their own respective journey. It's not actually fair to compare journeys because everyone's journey is absolutely unique to them. So it's like comparing apples to pineapples. You're never going to get a fair comparison. So don't do yourself that favor. Don't compare yourself to someone else because it's doing you a disservice. Only your own growth is known by you and your higher self.
Back to what Mathis was saying here, I can tell you this. I know that I've read that, and I believe it came directly from Trump, as far as debt is concerned, that people's mortgages, credit card debt, loans, personal loans, bank loans, that kind of thing, it's going to go away.
Yes,
so that
that
part
is true.
I've
I
seen
was
that.
shown on the other side of the shift that there won't even be a need for money at all.
I can't
I
wait
look
for
forward to that.
So do I. It just doesn't. I've always had. I don't even want to say it, so it sounds negative. But I just feel like I didn't come from a place that used money, which is why I know it's necessary in order to have uh, an easier life here. But
Well, the way the monetary system and society has been set up for thousands of years, it's a competitive system. You literally have to go out and get your own, and it's dog eat dog and every man for themselves, or
yeah,
woman,
those
or
little.
whatever the case. But that's an old energy, so it would stand to reason that the whole financial system or energy exchange system would have to change. All the old systems supporting the old way of life, if they can't be reconstituted in a new way for the new energy, it has to be torn down, period. And that goes for our beliefs and other constructs as well around this reality, not just the financial.
And this is where, and New Yorkers bringing up and help the homeless. Everybody should have a roof over their head. I couldn't agree more.
I
And
absolutely agree with that. If I had the room, I'd invite a bunch of homeless here. I did once.
Mhm. I've helped people out in that regard before when I had a place and was able to, and it's been returned to me in at the same time. So
Well, when you pay it forward, you're expressing an energy flow that allows and brings about abundance. The way you keep the abundance flowing is you keep sharing. When the universe sees you're a person who's willing to help share the abundance and the flow, the universe will funnel it to you. But if you dam the river of the flow like a beaver does a river, if you start keeping it instead of actually, take what you need, but share the rest. And as long as you keep doing so, the flow of abundance will continue. And don't limit abundance to just financial, because it has so many more expressions.
right,
It's like paying
it's,
it forward. It does come back to you.
exactly. Wide Awake says Earth separation is close.
Yes, the first of three is close. The first of the three is the bifurcation of the 3D and the 5D, and that's actually already started. It hasn't fully jumped, which is why you can still see both playing out around you. Pick the one you want to stay focused on and ignore the other one. That way you can stay on course and track and don't jump back and forth between while they're still in the process of separating. And that's also going to happen again after the shift on the selection of, do we go into the technological or the organic ascension? But before that, the first one is the separation of the wheat from the chaff, or those ready to ascend and those who are not quite there yet. It's not a judgment. They will get another chance later, so don't worry about those people. Just send them love and go about your own path. If you can help them, great. That actually boosts your own soul's growth as well.
This is this when we were talking about fractals, I didn't see this. Teresa said, remembering.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, aspects of ourselves. That's a good one, Teresa. Thank you for
It's
that.
the opposite of dismembering, which is what we're doing to the dark. We're dismembering their systems. You don't need a leg. Nothing to stand on.
I'm enjoying every bit of it.
If you can hold yourself in the observer state through this chaos and hold a higher vibe and look at what's going on and laugh it off, yes, some of it's very gruesome, very disturbing, and very serious. But at the same time, take it with a grain of salt, because even how bad it was, the key word is was. It's over by the time you find out about it. It's like with the government. They do a lot of things, but don't tell you till it's over, because they believe it's better to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission. Ignore that and focus on your path and stay. You can look at it as an observer, but don't let yourself get emotionally attached one way or another. Just keep focused on your ascension, and you'll make it through all the bullshit no matter what they do.
Well, how would you respond to New England Dirt Roadie? I don't even know what to say to that. So what do the people who never got themselves into debt get? That sounds like you're in some kind of competition, and that's not.
I can relate to that because I personally refuse to participate in that debt system. I've never had a credit card. I don't use banks other than the cash check someone else gave me. If you go to the bank someone else wrote the check for, that bank has to honor it, even if you don't have an account.
Oh,
That's
I've
how
had them
I've
tell
dealt
me
with
that.
it.
I've had banks tell when I haven't. I've had bank accounts and not had bank accounts. But I have when I didn't have one, and I would go to a bank. There were some banks that will refuse to cash a check if you don't have a.
They're
An
trying to
outlet,
force you into their way of doing it, but by law, if the
or
check
they
was
will
wrote
charge
through
you
their
for it.
bank, they have to honor it unless they can prove it's fraudulent. That's just the bank trying to force you to become a customer. It's been a
But you
hard
can't.
road going through this without getting in debt. And I was thinking, yeah, if everyone's debt for forgiveness, where's my prize? Because I struggled the whole way not to go into debt. And the only thing Spirit keeps telling me is you won the game by not playing it. These people, they're on hope right now until it actually is cleared. And in the 3D reality that's going to continue after the bifurcation, those people, they're not going to have debt forgiveness. Imagine the torture they're going to go through. The debt forgiveness and Nasara stuff, according to my higher self, only comes with the shift. Those who are not going to make the shift are not going to experience that.
Well, here's another thing. The people that say that. So, what do the people who never got themselves into debt get? You can ask what you get, but I'm gonna look at this another
Satisfaction
way.
in knowing. That's my best guess. I'm told there will be a reward from Spirit, but I don't know what it is. I haven't got mine yet, I'll tell you that.
That would be like the people that have a house, and let me finish. The people that have a house and get their mortgage forgiven. I don't have a house. What do I get?
So the aspect for those who don't own a house, from my understanding, is they will be given an opportunity to get one at more than reasonable price, at least until money disappears. When money's no longer necessary, there won't be a homeless person. Everyone will have the option of a place to live.
Of their own, or just a place to live? Because there's a difference. You can rent a place.
It's hard to say, because when we get to the point where we don't need money, we'll also get to the point of understanding that we don't own the land we live on. The earth is alive, it can't be owned. Just like there should be no slavery, because all living sentient beings should not be slaves.
But we have been.
We have been, but that's also an old energy. Under the new energy and the expansion of our consciousness after the shift, with a new understanding, a lot of people are going to be far more compassionate, and things are going to be a lot more shared and even. We won't have all this oppressive, you can't help someone or you'll get in trouble. Which some states, if you bought a homeless person a hamburger, you can get in trouble with the law and get a ticket for helping the homeless. It's sad, but it is true.
I'd help them anyway. If I, you
I
know,
did, and
if
I
I
got a
was,
ticket in Florida for it.
oh, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah.
That's just so wrong. That is
$50
so wrong.
fine for a $10 I gave the guy to get a hamburger.
Oh, that's really annoying.
That was in Miami, Florida, about 10 years ago. Damn county came up to me.
I'm gonna have to New England dirt. I don't think it's to your benefit to feel this way about this, because it's but I choose to live within my means. There's a certain, I think that's a little bit ego-minded. I'm sorry to say that, but I really do. Why should you care when there's going to be abundance for all? You're not even going to remember that.
Yeah.
In my opinion. That's just my
It's like saying what's in it for us. When we get to the other side, you're not going to worry about what's in it for you. You're going to have everything you ever needed and ever wanted.
You're going to want to be helping
the fifth dimension. If you want it, you don't have it. If you go the technological route, you can use your replicator. If you go the organic route, you can straight manifest and create it. So it's a win-win either way. It just depends on which one you choose. And those who don't make the shift, it's not a punishment. It's just a fair assessment of where they're at on their path. They will still get another chance to ascend. It's not like they get damned to hell or anything.
Right. That's a whole nother subject.
Yes, it is.
And that's religion. And I was kind of surprised. There was a talk, and I heard Trump say something about bringing religion back, and I think religion has done more harm than good. And I don't mean that as a...
I think what he really meant, he used the term religion because it's widely termed to represent faith. But so many people have lost faith and morals that came under the auspices of religion. And those
that's true. That's probably what he meant.
That's more of what he really means.
The connection to spirit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But if you were to stand in front of the public and say, I'm against religion in these ways, it didn't matter what religion, he just made a shit ton of enemies. That's not coherent. That's not helping to make peace on the world. So to just use the broad term religion to cover all of those things would save time and keep a fair balance for all the listeners, regardless of what country they're in.
Yeah. This is a good mindset, to be grateful for what you have. Keep it simple. You don't need much that way. And your consciousness is the most important, which is true, because that's what you take with you.
That is a very true statement.
You don't get a U-Haul when you leave that.
Oh, no. In fact, that's why all these heavy things from the ascension symptoms are coming up from everybody, because you can't take the baggage with you. You can't bring your trauma from 3D into 5D. That's why the inner work is so important. The body is even assisting, which is why some random aches and pains, that's the body releasing stuck cellular memory from previous trauma. Exactly. Even the body is trying to help you with the shift. We have so much help to make the shift right now that as long as you decide I'm making the shift and you put in even a small amount of effort, it's going to take you a long way. Now, outside of an ascension cycle, it takes a lot of work to ascend. Some people spend 40 years and barely make a dent. But at these special times, we have help from the angelics, we have help from the crystal kingdom, we have help from the planet herself. There is just so much help for those who choose to make the shift. And if you don't make the choice and you don't wake up, the choice is made for you by your higher self based on where you're at. But if you consciously, even if you're not awake, but you decide something's got to change, I want to change for the better, your higher self will take that as you're choosing the ascension. And you will start to get the symptoms, and that does scare some people. As long as whenever you're feeling, whether it's a blissful state or aches and pains, ascension flu, any of these things, as long as you remain calm it will pass, even if it's hard heart palpitations. Now, I'm not saying don't go see your doctor if you feel you need to, but I am saying after a while of feeling into it, and if it passes quickly and you're not have a history of heart issues, it's just a pulse of energy going through your heart. It's nothing to freak out about. It's an ascension symptom. Oh, and it's actually proven.
Well,
Science proved in the last 10 years that every time a CME hits, it does affect human brainwave activity, and it can cause heart arrhythmia even in healthy people. So just relax and your body will be fine. But if you feel you need to see your doctor, by all means.
the other thing too is when you release some of the negativity by going inward, or release some of the programming, however you want to look at it, as you release that, it makes more room for light. More
It
light.
does. The more of the density, the inner things, the programs that you let go of, the more of you let go of the false teachings and etc., that's more room you're making for more light. If you hold on to a belief, an older one that gives you, say it gives you a hatred for a certain type of people, that takes up a whole lot of dense space that you could be holding that much more light by simply letting it go and asking, why do I believe this? This guy's got the same physiology just because his skin's a different color. That don't mean crap.
Exactly. I can't believe people get into stuff over that. That's amazing to me.
That was all part of the divide and conquer, keeping us looking at our differences instead of seeing our similarities.
And they used religion for the same thing by dividing and making a whole bunch of different religions so they could fight amongst each other over who had the right one. Anyway,
I hate to say it, but to me, religion is a trap. It
yes,
usurps your spirituality by making themselves a middleman and then giving you this box to sit in full of all these rules on how you're supposed to live, which does come with hatreds if you're looking at the Old Testament of the Bible, which was very spiteful. If you look at the New Testament, there's some hatreds there too. I don't believe that to be natural. I believe that to be something added to help control the people. The Catholic Church or the Vatican and all of them were only created after the fall of Rome. It wasn't religion before that. It was people's spirituality. Even the Christ never claimed a religion.
No, he didn't.
So I believe religion is a trap. It's not about religion. It's about your relationship with the Creator.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. Jeff had some interesting things to say I wanted to point out. He says debt equals one less thought to keep you from higher dimensions. Worrying about it all the time isn't a good thing. And then the other, let's see, where's the other one I had up that he said too? You have to stop. This is a good one too. You have to stop thinking to learn anything.
Yeah, because your brain will get in the way.
Exactly.
They want you in a logical mind where it's rigid and it leaves no room for God or anything you can't prove. But even Einstein said that the day science starts looking into the things they can't see, they'll learn a whole lot more. He admitted there's far more than just the Newtonian science, the rigidity of it. And it's funny how they compartmentalize science, and your physicists don't really talk to your geologists and put two and two together on why this works or what. They don't. So you don't have that whole crossover that proves the creationist idea behind most religions. I think it was a combination of both creation and evolution in the process. Even right now, we're going through evolution with this ascension process. We're creating a new reality in that ascension evolution. So I believe it's both. But you're free to believe whatever you like. Beliefs are so powerful.
Yes, they are. What you believe you become, I think I forgot how that goes, but it's interesting. I'll have to think about it for a minute or two. Oh, one last thing before we go, and we're going to have to go pretty soon. We have about 10 minutes left. And that is, there's a lot of talk about, again, about pole shifting, whether that's a magnetic pole shift or a whole, complete, total pole shift, which would be catastrophic. What is your take on that, and what have you received from Spirit about that?
From my understanding, from what I've been shown, it's not a physical pole, as in the planet flipping over. It's a magnetic pole shift, and science supports that. In the last 10 years, we've seen every other planet in the solar system, their magnetic poles have flipped. Even our own sun recently has flipped its poles, but they've only been magnetic poles. So I don't believe the Earth's physical poles shift. The visions I've always been shown about the changes more derived from the magnetic shift, as well as the continental plates are currently moving as well. That's where some of the earth changes are going to come from. But the biggest effect from the pole shift, besides our consciousness changing as a collective, because the magnetics of the planet do have some to do with that, it's also going to affect the electrical systems, because our electrical systems are based on electromagnetics. Over the past so many hundred years, it's been fairly consistent. But as the magnetic poles shift, it'll reverse or change the polarity in our own electric lines. So it is possible, and I was actually shown in several visions that it does happen, that electricity does go down for a while. Maybe altogether, maybe in spots. I wasn't given that clear of information, but I was shown in the area I'm in, which wasn't exactly where I'm at in this physical moment. At least I didn't recognize it in the vision. But power was down. People were trying to they were going back to using older technology, at least for a brief period. Not to rain on anyone's parade. Just
I see
sharing what I got.
our people are aware of what religion really is. It's just another dictation. Wide Awake says God is within. That's for sure.
That's right.
Religion is crowd control. You're in 10% carnal side of your brain. It's the pineal gland. It's the right side of the brain.
The pineal is actually at the dead center of the brain. The left and right hemispheres more. One hemisphere is more about creativity and your openness to your imagination. The other one is about logic and rigidity.
That's the left one. As I understand
mechanical thinking and etc. When you balance the hemispheres of the brain, you get an even mix of both, and they tend to work together. You're not limited to just the logical mind or just the artistic mind. That's brain hemispherical balance.
Wide Awake was saying that she believes that the magnetic shift causes the vertigo that I think was mentioned earlier.
Actually, the vertigo is caused by the amounts of energy passing through you as it hits the planet. However, that is also part what's pushing the magnetic pole shift. So they are coupled in hand, and it's really hard to say. It's kind of like the chicken and the egg.
Well, I've had some, since I made this big move, I can't decide if it's related to the move or what, but I've had more aches and pains in areas that I've never had any aches and pains before, wondering what the heck, what is this? But then I thought, well, maybe it's, latent from moving itself physically.
From what Spirit has told me, when you get aches and pains somewhere you've never had an injury in this life, it's still a release from the cellular memory, both releasing dense old memories from past lives. And sometimes those are soul wounds, things that happened to you in a past life that your DNA still has in the cellular memory. So it would feel like your left leg might hurt, even if you've never hurt your left leg. But that will pass after a while. If it stays continuous and persistent, it could be that your nervous system is being rewired because of the energies or the upgrades. When the upgrades come in, They have to be decoded by the body and then applied to the DNA. Then your DNA starts to add it to every cell as they duplicate and replace. It's a slow process, but if it went really quickly all of a sudden, the human body couldn't handle that amount of energy shift. So it's a slower process specifically to help us. The process actually started back in 1987 at the beginning of the precession at equinoxes and should be complete by 2032 at the latest. Though I seriously doubt we're going to wait that long for the shift, because the vibes and feelings I've been getting since the beginning of the year literally feel like an orchestra coming up to the crescendo right before the final. That's what it feels like to me. So I would estimate sometime this summer to next summer at the latest that we'll see that shift. But I do know it comes from our sun, not from anything man does.
Okay, it's Teresa. It sounds like what you already went through is what I'm experiencing right now, because it did seem it was in my bones almost. It's weird.
The energy will feel like it's in your bones, plus the bone marrow in your body is actually being affected by this energy. It's actually causing the DNA to create this new bone marrow that you haven't had before. And as it pushes the old out, you can get pains or even surges of energy running through your bones even. It'll feel like every single cell is overloaded sometimes. At least it has for me.
Yes. All right. Well, does anybody have any more questions before we close for the evening? Or call it a wrap? Well, I guess not.
I have one question for everybody in the audience.
Oh, cool. Okay.
My question for you is, how do you love? How do you express love in every moment of every day? Even if you're frustrated, how do you express your love? That was my question for everyone. Give you some food for thought.
Okay, well, we can come back with answers when I have you on again. How's that sound?
Sounds good to me.
Alrighty then. That's a good question though, because that's what it's all about. We were made in love. We are love. We just, I don't know if we just forgot or we had some of it programmed away from us or what it is, but we definitely need to start thinking in terms of love. And I think one of the ways that makes it a little bit easier to do that is by attempting your best to see the divinity in every person that you're dealing with. And you will know if they're not divine.
Oh, yeah. You'll feel it.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Much love.
Do you have any final words, White Fox? You can tell them about your, if you have a site or anything.
The only place to find me in any social media at all is on Telegram. My Telegram channel, it's a group chat where everyone is treated equal. It is free. The name of it is Some Pudwhacker Spreading Truth and Love. Yes, all one word. That is my Telegram if anyone wants to talk with me directly or join with the community I've been building online. And just to clear something up, I've had a few people send me emails asking why I won't show my face. I used to volunteer with the Higher Self community, and in 2018, I was physically attacked repeatedly for some of the information I shared. So from then on, I don't show my actual face. It would be too easy for people to know who I am and attack me again. So it's not that I'm afraid. It's that it's the people around me that don't need that kind of drama in their life. So I do it for them. Personally, I'd give the middle finger to anyone who tried. I'm a rebellious soul.
I got that rebel gene too, unfortunately, I should say. Actually, it's easy to say unfortunately, but it's actually fortunately, because that's what we need. Um, we came here to bust this system, I believe. So, and it's in process. We are succeeding, and we want us all, everyone there with you. And I'll tell you this about White Fox's group on Telegram. It's a very like-minded group, very similar to the people who follow this. So I think you would find that it would resonate with you. And that being said, I'd like to wish everyone a great rest of your day, evening, or whatever time it is, wherever you are. And we'll see you again soon.
Much love, y'all.
Much love.
Peace.
We have found our way. It's a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are. And like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers, stronger than ever. Never say never. Don't look back now, don't look back now. Rise up, stand with each other. We are sisters and brothers, fighting our place and running the race. We'll take our chance and seize the moment. Hold on tight and don't let go of all your hopes and dreams that light the way. We control our fate. Destiny awaits. We are all the actors in the stories we create. Hope will be our guide. We'll no longer hide. When we roll like thunder, feel the wonder from inside. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show